and extrapolated over the population of Europe and United States, we are seeing almost the same picture, because here the population is higher, let's say so. Okay, next please. Now is very important thing. On my language, I mean on Bulgarian, it's written only, it's taken one slide for 12 to 17 years old, which had any kind of vaccination, most of them with Pfizer. And myocarditis, it's the most common adverse reaction. I show to Bulgarian auditory, and on the other monitor was going on in English. So what we are seeing is in Bulgarian, because my auditory 400 people in the room was in the hall was Bulgarians. So finally it's become clear that myocarditis is the most severe adverse reaction during experiment of giving people something which they call vaccines. That's exactly what is written here. And SA, this up is written USA. Okay, please next. Next. Of course, I should have talk quite long, and that something should be on the monitor. So this man is showing what's going on in one hand and what some people saying on the other hand. Please next. This is the condition in Bulgaria. It's very, very important, and I'll try to explain to you. This is mortality rate. Usual mortality rate in Bulgaria every year is like that. In November and December, we have, let's say it's not jump, but race. Every year, it's coming down. But at the moment when they start implement vaccination massively, on 21st of January, we didn't have any problem with vaccination supply anymore. Exactly 1 month later, we had a jump of mortality rate again, while in the population was administered vaccination preferably to old people. So these old people who was usually dying every year, doesn't matter this year with COVID or without COVID, we just made the camel, we made it with one, we made it on two. I forgot exactly the calling of camel with one or two what, but верблюдой, там по-русски верблюдой называется, двугерба и на герба. Так, we have done second peak of mortality rate, and it is indisputable. It's from Bulgarian statistics, coming from Bulgarian statistics, and no one can say anything against what we are seeing on the picture. It's very sad for me, by the way. Vaccination just push next peak of mortality rate. Obvious. Please, next. It was a little bit medical parts, and I tried to explain what is the meaning of so-called fibrin degradative product called dedimer, and what is the meaning of it during the vaccination, so-called vaccination process, and the process which is after coronavirus infection pass. When it's passing, what's going on, and when you are applying something which forced to produce those spike proteins, what's going on, and what is the pathogenesis of microthrombosis. That's what I tried to explain to my people here on normal language. And I think it's the final one, or the pre-final. Next, please. Exactly, in Bulgarian language, it's explained what is didymer, how it's working, why it's appearing, what does that mean, what's the prognosis, and how to avoid what could be the prophylaxis for microthrombosis, provided you are had a, let's say, jump. I think this is the last. Please. Yes, just it was the last.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. This was a good presentation. Yeah, was on the point, brief, and very informative. That's great. So I learned that you presented an excess mortality, what is related or seems to be related with the vaccination. So I would like to ask, Plamen Paskov, since you've been from Bulgaria as well, can you confirm this, that you see excess mortality?
Yes, we, with my dear colleague from Bulgaria, Dr. George Todorov, we see a laboratory doctor, not general practice, but exactly laboratory doctor. We see that mortality rate is let's say, connected to the level of vaccination process. More vaccination, more mortality rate. More vaccination, more infection, more so-called infected people. They use this term infected people, but in fact it is positive reactions, including people who are already twice vaccinated. It doesn't matter what kind of vaccine. So it is absolutely the same situation like in Russia, like in Ukraine, like in Bulgaria, and like in most of other European countries. There is no some kind of severe or dramatic changes of the levels and of the trends that those two processes are connected between them. I mean, vaccination and positive reactions and mortality rate. What is the most dangerous and more let's say, dramatic? Dramatic is that there are not only the old people dying from those two vaccines. Young people are dying too. In Italy, in other countries, including 18 years Camilla in Italy. It is the same situation in Russia, but it is not in public access for now, because only two countries, if I'm not wrong, are using public resource for all the adverse reactions, including death, for using vaccination process since February this year. So, talking about Bulgaria, there is nothing unusual. It is almost exactly the same like in other countries. It is a dramatic situation.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So, this was really a good presentation again. So, thanks for the slides. We would really appreciate this if you are able in 2 weeks' time to present some numbers, the comparisons of the last years to compared this year. And if you would have a statistic, with a clear graph, this would be very good. So then we would grant you some more minutes to present this. And we would that we would be able to bring this out. Would this be possible?
You mean September with September, October with October, not September with October? You mean month by month? Yes.
Exactly what I was about to ask.
Okay.
No, question, please. Question. May I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah.
What I want to know, what we should compare: mortality rate, morbidity rate, or test rate, or percentage, or both, or all. If it is all, I have the statistics. I could be ready next Tuesday, next Wednesday. I can be ready with compare mortality rate.
So mortality rate is the most interesting, of course.
Which is most interesting?
Is for clear data. If we have clear data, yeah, this would be the best.
Clear data for what? For mortality or?
If we really see a difference, like a significant difference.
I got your point.
Related to the point, starting point to the vaccination.
Okay, that means that if I have anything which is similar, is out of our interest. If it is dramatic changes or significant changes, this is our interest, and then we have to analyze why this going on and what is the difference between the circumstances which are achieved the first data and the circumstances now which achieved this data. Okay?
Exactly. Right? Yes.
You could also use ICU.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you. I got my assignment. That's all.
You could also use ICU admissions and hospitalizations, but you can't use COVID cases.
No. Here we cannot do it because the hospitalization rate, now is divided. They made so-called call it COVID units, and the COVID unit is outside the hospitalization because now we push them here. We push them, and what we have done is that we ask them to give criteria for hospitalization, and one of the criteria was the fear of the people. So this is not criteria. You got my point?
Okay, you will provide us with the details.
I got my assignment.
We know things. Yeah, we know it's every time it's a special situation in the countries, and they use all sorts of tricks. Yeah, and we know we need the specifics. Yeah, on what kind of data this is a basis. So thank you very much. Go on with New Zealand.
Yay, New Zealand!
Thank you for the amazing.
So very down under.
I will look for a very short moment, please.
Okay, thank you for the amazing invite. Am I able to share my screen, please?
Let's hope so. Great to meet you, Tracy.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for the lovely welcome. That was amazing.
Whereabouts are you? Whereabouts are you in New Zealand? Tell us more.
So I'm in Timaru, which is the South Island. Yep. And it's interesting, I'm the Global Alliance rep because I was born in Canada and grew up in the UK, but I've been in New Zealand for about 21 years now. And I'm here with my Global Alliance subcommittee members, which is Anne and Renee. Our steering committee is made up of about 7 people, and we're all around New Zealand.
Oh, that's so great to connect with you, because I don't know if you heard, I lived in New Zealand for 5 years, and
yes.
Got a real spot full of the Kiwis.
Yeah. Well, we do have some other advantages, as I'm sure you'll know, is that we don't have the case numbers and the death rates that you guys have.
But you have a robot in charge of your country, don't you?
We have a what, sorry?
A robot.
Yes, absolutely. Or a puppet might be a more apt term.
I don't know. I'm not sure she's human.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. So anyway, I can share my screen and just give you a little bit of a summary. As I say, we don't really have the death rates or the side effects. Sorry, the death rates or the incidents, and so I don't think we need to talk about that too much. But I can give you a little bit of a background of us. We've been very informally set up for the last probably 5 months, just chatting. And then the last steering committee meeting, there's 7 of us, like about 10 days ago, we set up subcommittees, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. But just give you a little bit of a background. Our main concerns, and this is being updated all the time, is that the roll out the vaccine to the public despite the fact that the clinical trials are still being undertaken. We have a lawyer who launched a case against the government about the rollout, and it was deemed to be illegal by the judge, but the government changed the law the next day, and that seems to be the pattern in that if they are found to be acting illegally, they just change the law. And then, of course, the legality of prescribing a trial drug. The other issue, of course, is lay. I'm not sure about your countries, but we're using lay vaccinators, and obviously they're not competent to undertake informed consent. So that's really us in a nutshell. In terms of what we've achieved so far, this is, as I say, we've only really been formally set up in the last 10 days, but we've launched letters to the Ombudsman here, the Human Rights Commission. New Zealand is quite a unique situation in that there's no legal stance. We haven't agreed to the Human Rights Commission. New Zealand hasn't agreed to the Human Rights Commission in terms of it can't be enforced here. We do have a media that is very much bought off by the government. In fact, they freely admitted that the press were given around about $150 million to suppress anything that is considered anti-vaccine. And we were, as a group of doctors, and the NZDSOS were trashed in the media just last week. We are talking to the opposition media to see if they're prepared to give the real story. The other thing in terms of letter writing is we've got a letter going out to all the school principals, putting them on notice that they're legally liable if kids are dying if they're being vaccinated or having side effects if they're being vaccinated in the schools, or even if the information is given out in schools and then a kid was to be vaccinated somewhere else and have a side effect. Because the teens are starting to be vaccinated next week, our vaccination program started in around about March, April, and the teens are starting next week. So that's the letters that we've been writing. We've also, of course, written to every MP, and we've individually written to them. We've only had a response from one MP who said it's not his portfolio and that he would pass it on, but we haven't heard anything. We are going to continue with the politician angle. We also have written to obviously all the bodies like the Medical Council, the GP College. We've had no reply. We will be chasing that up. We've obviously got, I think it seems like the greatest success is going to come from informing the public rather than politicians. But of course, we have a legal duty to put the government and the various bodies on notice. So that's why we have written to them. So that's what the website about really is, to inform other doctors and to try and get more colleagues joining us, which is happening more and more all the time. So far, we have around about 60 members who are prepared to be signatories, and we have about 150 members who are prepared to support us, but anonymously. We've had meetings with the Australian-based Pandata Group, the Canadian COVID Care Alliance, the Israeli People's Committee. We had the Bird Group meeting at 3 a.m. New Zealand time yesterday, looking at establishing a new international council for health and wellbeing. We talked to the Children's Health Defence yesterday. We have benefactors who have offered to support us with a certain amount of money, and so we'll be setting up a bank account for that and plans to continue to attract benefactors. We have, yesterday we were offered the Child Health Defence lawyers to liaise with our lawyers to explore the legal avenues to protect us as doctors. We currently have 3 doctors being investigated by the Medical Council, one of which you probably know, Sam Bailey, who's done an amazing job of doing lots of videos, educating patients. And also to help our patients in terms of legal avenues for those that don't wish to have the vaccine when it becomes mandatory. We've set up a better communication portal. And then future projects is because we have been contacted by police, nurses, etc., And so we will be contacting them officially to say that we will be supporting them. We've got a public pamphlet going out which is being dropped off by an advocacy group called Voices for Freedom, who have in the last count managed to drop about 250,000. So the population of New Zealand is about 4 million. They managed to drop off last year about 250,000 pamphlets. Their group has grown, so anticipate more than that. Because of the censorship on the social media platforms, we feel the best way to reach the public is through pamphlets, and we have benefactors who are willing to support publications. So the public pamphlet, and then of course looking at getting the vaccine reactions recorded on all the official channels, but also there is an unofficial group who have collated, in terms of they're a public group that have collated vaccine reactions, and so far with their group we've got around about 80 deaths in New Zealand. And creating a charter, legal, hiring an admin person, contacting the ombudsman, supporting the 3 doctors under investigation. We're also going, a member of the public has approached us saying that they wish to report the medical council chair to the medical council and his role as a doctor and his abuse of power. So that's really the situation in New Zealand. I hope that answers all your questions. But
can I ask you a question, Tracy?
Sure.
So do you say you've had 80 people have died from the vaccine?
Yes.
How many people died from COVID? Was it 4?
Yeah, around about that. 4
people died. So is that surely that's your trump card to play in New Zealand?
Yeah, and that's what will be going on that pamphlet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, it's remarkable. So yeah, we will be that will be one of our messages to the public in that pamphlet.
Yeah. And what about the doctors in New Zealand? Are they open-minded? I mean, I know it's a silly question. Are they open-minded?
Well, as I say, we've got about 50 signatories, about 150 supporting us. On an anonymous basis. I think because of the censorship, they're just not aware of what we're doing. And so we need to educate our colleagues. But yeah, I think at the moment, because it's so urgent with the vaccine rollout, we need to educate the public first. I mean, we're underfunded, under-resourced groups like most of us are, I'm sure. And so we have to really focus in on what's the most impact.
Yeah. I think you do an amazing job. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to see what you're doing. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do stay in touch, yeah? I see Solia's got her hand up. Solia.
Just wanted to ask, do you get sufficient legal support for all these actions, what you are doing there in New Zealand?
Yeah, well, we're meeting with the legal team today, and the CHD have offered to have their lawyers liaise with our lawyers, and so certainly that's another front that we'll be working quite hard on. But I think probably, although we have different laws in different countries, I think this World Doctors Alliance and getting as many groups overseas on board with your organisation and sharing of resources in terms of patient pamphlets, websites, resources such as letters to school principals, I think is going to be really empowering, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's very time consuming writing new letters, and also recording vaccine events, because we know the official vaccine event recording sites are underreporting by probably a factor of 5. So having unofficial recording as well.
Sorry, Scott. Dear friend Scott Tips is an amazing attorney. Speaking of lawyers, he's got his hand up. Scott, it's so good to see you, mate. How are you?
I am fine, thank you, Zach, and it's good to see you again, and some of the other people from the last time as well. Tracy, I had a thank you, Zach, for recognizing me. Tracy, I had a question for you, actually an offer, which is we at the National Health Federation also have a team of lawyers, and one of them in particular really specializes in the vaccine issue even more than I do. And I would suggest getting him in contact with you as well. I saw that you had the CHD lawyers as well, but he could probably offer some insight as well from his angle if you're interested. I'd be
that would be fantastic. Yeah, if you're able to send me his contact details either in the chat or by email, I'll put my email in the chat. That would be fantastic. I really appreciate that, Scott.
Thank you. And
very
then
generous.
Thank you, Tracy, and we appreciate all that you're doing. One of the things that we do at NHF is we defend doctors who are challenged by the medical associations, the authorities, and I personally have defended doctors who have come before the boards in New York State and California State, and what's the other one? Colorado, I think. But of course, that's in America. But the thing that we've noticed is it takes about 10% of the population to be the tipping point for making a change, for showing resistance, for kind of describing the crying out that, as the little kid did, that the emperor has no clothes.
Yes.
And you almost have to have that amount, and really it's only 10%. You would think it'd be much higher, but it's not. But if you have 10% crying out and saying, this is wrong, this is not what it is, and you say that even before you have the facts. I mean, we have the facts, of course, supporting us, but you don't start out with the facts. You start out with this is wrong, and then you lead into the facts. But we also have someone, a member of our organization named Larry Woods. He's on the South Island. He has an outfit there his place is called Woods Gulch, after the Ayn Rand thing, and Gulch, I guess, in Colorado, but he calls it Woods Gulch, and he may be someone who could help you as well. He's a very good organizer. He thinks like we do, and he's American, but he immigrated there like 10 plus years ago.
Okay, that would be lovely if you could connect us. Thank you so much.
So getting your email,
I'll just put it in the chat.
Yeah. And I'll put him in touch with you as well, so maybe he could help. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Scott. That's given me so much hope.
Well,
thank you very much indeed. I'm afraid we need to go on. So next point on the agenda is the World Ivermectin Day. So Karen, you would like to talk about?
Sure. I'm working. I spent a lot of time working with Dr. Tess Laurie on this initiative. So World Ivermectin Day is Saturday, and I hope you all have little private parties planned in your house or something. We're wanting to. We think this is the key to ending the pandemic because there's so much medical research behind this, and it's something that's accessible to people who are, more related in the allopathic medical traditions. I know we're not saying that ivermectin is the only treatment for COVID, but we think this is the one that has the best chance of breaking through to the mainstream, due to the Brett Weinstein and Joe Rogan podcast. So it seems to be hitting. So our website is live. It's right here, worldivermectinday.org. There's tons of video testimonies coming in from doctors and patients all over the world. If you haven't recorded a video testimony and you're willing to do so, there's a link here. If you can please upload it. We've got a really powerful website in the back end so we can publish things really quickly. So I just wanted to remind you guys that it's in 2 days. And if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Yes, thank you very much. Any questions?
One addition there, Heiko, if I may, that I think the Ivermectin Day, to start with, of course, it's important as a treatment, but even more important to break down the paradigm of being afraid from COVID or whatever, right? So, if we were able to bring it to the consciousness of people, especially who are suffering with great fear from this whatever we call it, that might make a difference. Because if people understand that there is a possibility for treatment, even if it's 68%, depends on the stage of so-called COVID or whatever flu we are talking about, that would help them to start opening up, stopping fearing from something that they don't really know or understand, right? So I believe that's the importance that everyone understands.
Great. Okay, so please show the gender for the next point. And now from Switzerland, our colleague Thomas Binder. I'm not sure, is he already in? If not, I don't think so. No. Then we will skip this to the next thing, to the next point, and he will refer later on the science update. And we have a conference update from the American Frontlines doctor.
And this is just a note. I don't know if we have anyone from the American Frontline doctors personally. They are up to their neck running with legal cases very actively. I don't know if you haven't seen the news, the new revelation of 45,000 death cases because of the vaccination. They started a court case with a whistleblower for that and several other. I would really advise everyone to go and listen to them on the 27th of July, 1 p.m. ET, when they share their experience, update on their activities, especially because there's a lot to leverage, for new organizations, but also for the active ones who have been up and running, trying to do everything. I think it's a great benefit to see others, what they are doing. And just as well as the American Frontline Doctor, there is an organization of scientists called Doctors for COVID Ethics, who are working together with several organizations present here. And they will have also a conference streamlined on the 29th and 30th of July from 5 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. That's the British summer time until 10 o'clock. And this should give a very strong baseline for everyone to understand what is the urgency about. Why do we need to act immediately, stopping this so-called pandemic that goes on, right? So this will be with Professor Bhakti, with Wolfgang Wodak, and several other experts, Palmer, and you name who. We have tried to collect the most knowledgeable people about the inside of this jab process and what we are as humanity going through. And next to that, we will have experts from other disciplines as well, legal experts, economy, media experts debating and discussing. This is organized together with a UK column, which is an alternative media, probably more known in the English-speaking world of Europe than anywhere else, but it's getting global viewers as well. But we will circulate the details for that when it's all finalized.
Great, thank you very much. So now we have like an open round table. So we spent already some time to discuss some things after the presentations. And thanks again. So it was good presentations on the point. So that's great. So I would like to remind you that after this, we will switch on the recording and have the country updates. So please get ready to to talk about 1 to 2 minutes about the situation in your country, and we will record this and put it on the World Freedom Alliance website and into the Telegram chat.
Эта конференция записывается.
All right. Yeah. Cool. So I know Scott wants to have a word about health passes and what we can do to resist. I would love to start with that. Scott, are you available to have a little bit of enlightenment for us?
Thank you. I am, and I'll keep it brief. But some of it I already said in my questions posed or offers posed to Dr. Chandler. But really, what we've seen is, and I'm sorry, I don't see his name on the screen anymore. But the Russian doctor who was speaking earlier, Plemen or whatever. No, not Bulgarian, but the Russian. Anyway, one of the things that happened in Russia when they introduced health passes is, and maybe this is just unique to Russia or the Slavic countries, but they were requiring the QR codes for people to go to restaurants, to go to cafes, to go to cinemas and the like. So what everyone did, not everyone, but a lot of people did, a huge amount of people did, is they went out and they got fake QR codes. And the restaurants and the cafes and the shops were looking the other way as the people did this. And they did this for about 3 days. And then the government realized it had a losing proposition on its hands. And they quietly rescinded the law that required the QR codes to get into these facilities. And they explained it away, saying, well, of course, we don't need it anymore. The numbers have gone down and so on. But that was one approach that worked in Russia. And the other thing is what I was kind of alluding to when I was speaking with Dr. Chandler, with Tracy, and that is that really it takes 10% to tip the scale. And what we're seeing is in France, we're getting greater than 10%. What we're seeing is, and I'm resident in France, so what we're seeing is the firefighters have come out, all the firefighters unions in France have come out, and they're saying, we are not accepting the health pass, the government health pass. You see that when there were marchers in the streets, as we've all noticed, that the police laid down their shields and they marched with the people, and the yellow vests, they are much more active than we can ever imagine. So really what we need to do is get people to speak up and get them to go out there. And a lot of the marchers, a significant number, not all of them by any means, were people who had actually been vaccinated, but they agreed with the unvaccinated, those of us who are unvaccinated, that it was inappropriate to discriminate against the unvaccinated, and it really wouldn't work. So that just briefly is what I wanted to say on that subject. We haven't seen those numbers yet in America. People are in the Anglo-Saxon countries tend to be a little bit more timid, but it's really encouraging to see the French go forward as they have, and gives us a lot of encouragement. Thank you. Thanks.
It certainly does. I was waiting for the French to start burning. I don't know. They normally burn sheep. Sheep. What are they burning? Burning doctors in the streets. Come on, let's do it. The French really need to lead Europe because they've always been the fiery ones.
Yeah.
Thank God they're doing it.
Yeah, thank God they're doing it is right. And I think we'll see more of that as the expression goes, as the tire meets the tarmac or the road. So we'll see a lot more of this, but we need to do our share of encouraging it and to not be silent. I mean, if we speak up, it encourages other people to speak up, and that in turn encourages yet more people to speak up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Who else has got something to say? No doubt Dr. T. Dr. T, are you there, Dr. T?
Yes, I saw that my name is on the...
I meant
another Dr. T.
I meant another Dr. T. Sorry.
Made a Dr. T's.
Yeah. Is this the public update or the doctor's update?
No, this is just a round table for us to fire questions at one another, or just fire ideas around.
Yeah, so this isn't the one going out to the public?
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so what's happened is that all GPs have now been contacted directly, so about the magnetism and MRI scans after the cases that have come out of people who have been partially paralysed after having MRI scans after COVID vaccines. So that's gone out in the last 24 hours. We've had support now from Dr. Mike Yeadon. He kind of voiced, I think, probably reflecting what many doctors have thought, saying, I didn't believe the magnetism was true because how could it be? And that he did realise that it was true now, although he didn't understand it. So that's helped to move us on a lot as well. On a personal level, my father-in-law has now just passed away in the last couple of days after his Pfizer vaccination. And I can assure you that the way that the hospital shuts down and does not allow the diagnosis of vaccine injury is incredible, because his story could not have been more barn door. So, yeah, on a personal level, just seeing that.
I'm sorry to hear that. Have you got 2 minutes? Do you want to share that story, or is that part of the update?
No, I don't want to go into the public, so I can say it now really quickly. So about day 7 in December, after his first Pfizer shot, he became partially paralysed. Looked like he'd either got transverse myelitis or Guillain-Barré. And very weird things going on with his sight, which actually only because I was able to then analyse and look at the stories, which we don't have with the yellow card, but with VAERS, I realised that it was the Miller-Fisher variant of Guillain-Barré, because I'd never heard of that before personally. And the first doctor who rang him up, because he was part of the cancer trial for Pfizer vaccinations, said that it was a vaccine side effect. Then the hospital then refused him access to the hospital, saying it's COVID. Then when he couldn't walk, trying to get him to the vaccine testing, the PCR place, tested him, he was negative, and only then did they allow him access to hospital. They then just said it was old age, that he'd suddenly become paralysed and couldn't see. Basically, long and short, he then recovered partially, not completely, and was just starting to mobilise with a frame, and they said, go ahead and have your second shot. And that time, on day 7, he then became more paralysed, incontinent, and never regained his strength, and basically blamed it on his cancer. But he had had loads of cancer scans before he had his first Pfizer jab, like literally the week before, and they said, this is amazing, your cancer's all in retreat. So it couldn't have been more barn door. And yet, the second time he got paralysed, his wife went off and got jabbed herself. That's the level of denial we're reading. And I sent summaries to the hospital, tried everything, complete denial. So when a doctor-doctor communication is blocked at that level, you can see how much is underreporting. In terms of my husband's work, we're now looking at I think it's more than 50% of the people who he works with who've been vaccinated have had serious side effects like burst organs. Just crazy. So I think that's underreported.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that.
We have Thomas Binder back. So
yeah, I see Thomas Binder.
We may change the slides. So Thomas from Switzerland, please go ahead with your science updates. I think you have now 5 minutes for this. And please, everybody, get ready for the country updates. Try to put this in 1 to 2 minutes. We will have one-shot recording after this. But first, my colleague Thomas Binder, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I could not find the invitation, the link, or I didn't get it. Well, I'm here, and welcome everybody. Well, this afternoon in the Doctors for COVID Ethics meeting, we realized that the people outside, the doctors outside Switzerland, might not have realized what great practice we have in Switzerland. I mean, we all know the whole belief system of this corona nonsense narrative stands on three basic myths: the wrong test, the wrong indication to test, and the myth of epidemiologically relevant asymptomatic transmission, which makes all...
Thomas, can you go closer to your microphone?
Oh. Yeah, well, I have a headset. Can you hear me?
Yeah, better. Take it in front of your mouth.
Well, I have it in the ear. Well, okay. Or maybe I'll change it. Just a moment, maybe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is better.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, sorry, I have an old Windows 7 machine, and sometimes I can't.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
quality is much better, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what we have in Switzerland, maybe I can share the screen. I cannot share my screen.
Yeah, Karen needs to. Yeah, good.
Can you see this now?
No, wait a minute. We will put you as a host, and then you select your screen.
No, he can share.
Can you see now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we have this address, icumonitoring.ch. This sends you to the near real-time monitoring of intensive care occupancy in Switzerland. This is done by the ETH, the Eidgenössische Technische Hochschule, the most famous university in Switzerland. So this is really an official page, the page of the Corona modelers, professional Corona modelers. There you see Switzerland, the different cantons. I live in Aargau, around here. You see it's mostly yellow, so the occupancy is about 70%. That's rather low. And then we click on national trends. And then what comes up are two graphics. And I want you to look at the graphics on the right. There we see the time. There we see the ICU bed occupancy. And there we have the black curve. These are the total ICU patients in Switzerland. In the flu season, we have this hump because of the respiratory infections that are caused by influenza, corona, other viruses, bacteria, fungi, etc. And for this hump, we usually have a reserve of about 20% for this winter hump. And then there is a green curve. These are the non-COVID ICU patients. And there is a yellow curve. These are the COVID ICU patients. So, for example, if you look at here in the late summer last year, we had about... Can you hear me? I have some echo. We had about 1% positive RT-PCR tests. So this is the false positivity rate when no virus is around between the flu seasons. And then in October, suddenly the yellow curve goes up. And well, now you would imagine, okay, we have enough free space, so the green curve goes on like this and this and this, and then maybe you decide when the reserve becomes smaller that you want to postpone non-emergency surgery, etc. But what you see is that instantly at the same time as the yellow curve goes up, the green curve goes down, and vice versa. So the two curves are totally symmetrical.
So, I mean, you can either believe that there is some superhuman force, usually you would call it God, that when a new COVID patient arrives, a myocardial infarction, a car accident, etc., is postponed, or you accept that the patients receive a Korman-Drosten nonsense RT-PCR test when they arrive in the hospital, and when you get positive, you land in the yellow curve, and when you are negative, you land in the green curve. And you see that the total number of ICU patients is not changed by this. So in this official graphics, you see the whole scam, that by the RT-PCR test, other diagnoses are mislabeled erroneously as COVID. You see also that in spring last year, we made a reserve we went up to 1,500 ICU beds, and then they went down to the usual 1,000 we always had. So in the same curve, you see that during the so-called pandemic, the ICU beds were lowered by a third. I mean, this is in this graphic, official graphic, the whole scam is immediately unveiled. And I just wanted to show you this because I realized that you have not seen this in such a great visualization that we have it here. And this explains also, I mean, imagine, for example, the Germans have about almost 3 times more ICU beds per inhabitant. And for example, the Swedes have about half that we have in Switzerland. So this explains also why no ICU in no country, I mean in general, I mean there can be local problems, but that the ICUs in no country were ever overcrowded because actually there are no new patients. I mean, at least after the first season of Corona from April 2020.
Yes. Thank you, Thomas. This is really on the point. So this is what I really recommend, even from the other data we've got today from Bulgaria. So put this on the point. So it is green and the orange curve. And Thomas, I would like you to make this even more sharper, more clearer. Because if you look at the whole picture, we have a lot of things, yeah? So please try to make this very explicit, these 2 curves or 3 curves, black, green, and orange, yeah? So we need this to display first, and then we could get into the details. So it must be something like we could send out by telegram or so, what is really clear, because you really shaped it out what it is. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so then we go to the next thing, or any comments on this? No, seems not to be. Then please prepare for the country updates.
Should I speak for Bulgaria?
Yeah, Karen will send a list. So Thomas, I would like you to be on the 7th position then. So the country updates. So first will be United Kingdom, Dr. T. Second, Mikkel Northfors from Sweden. Also will refer on Tanzania, Africa. Dr. Kakaliteri from Greece, me, Heiko Schön for Germany, Bulgaria, Dr. Pleskov, and Russia, Canada, Dr. Malthus, and 7th, then Thomas Binder. And I would really encourage you to type in your name and go on for this, yeah? So
Thomas, you can just stop sharing screen.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Thanks.
Great. Okay. So, ready to go. Try to get to 1 to 2 minutes. And then we will try to share this. Hello, this is a Medical Alliance. My name is Heike Schöning. I'm a medical doctor from Germany, and I'm the Vice President of the World Freedom Alliance. Today we've got the 22nd of July 2021. We will give some updates, country by country, by medical doctors and healthcare professionals. This will last per country around 2 minutes, and this will bring you a scientific and global view, what is happening. We are going to perform this every 2 weeks. So, okay, first I'd like to introduce my colleague from the United Kingdom. Please introduce yourself and go on.
Hi, it's Dr. T from the UK. So on Monday we had a supposed move to Freedom Day, but what this turned out to be was actually a move from some laws changing to coercion. So supposedly it was about being able to have more freedom, and it became very, very clear that, for instance, in shops, signs, if they changed at all, just were extremely subtle, almost to the extent where they used to say, wear a mask unless exempt, saying things like the government expects and recommends that you wear a mask. And so it doesn't even mention the exempt now, because it's just a play on language. But the people are rising up and not taking this. So there were protests in London with regards to this, with a lot of police presence outside Parliament. On another note, that more people are finding out about the issue with magnetism and vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, and the particular concern about MRI scans in people that exhibiting magnetism. And this information has now gone out to all UK GP practices so that doctors can directly respond to this now.
Thank you very much indeed. This was United Kingdom. We switched to the Swedish doctor, Dr. Mikael Norfors, referring on Tanzania, Africa, plus Sweden. Please, go ahead.
Actually, I can report a little mini version of Dante's Inferno. And actually, I live in Denmark officially.
Just 2 minutes.
It's 3 countries. And Denmark is hell, where you have to take a PCR test or a quick test every 3rd day to be able to participate in society, go to sport games, go to the gym or restaurants. And there's not much protests going on as far as I know. And then we have the medium place is Sweden, where there is less restrictions than in most other European countries, but lots of vaccinations, of course. I actually went to my son's student exam, high school exam, some weeks ago, and I spent time in a place with 200 vaccinated people, and I didn't feel well afterwards. I feel really terrible. So I don't recommend to be in Europe right now. And then we come to Paradise. You see my background here, there's the Hadzabi people. They are supposed to be the most healthy and happy people in the world, living Stone Age life. It's like exactly taken from the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy. They speak this click language, and they live under the bare sky most of the time and never wash themselves and smell good. And that was the answer for me. To see them was the answer if humanity is good or not, because these people were really happy and good people and not violent at all. And in Tanzania, it's a little bit bad news also. The new president has sold her soul to IMF, taking new loans, started reporting on COVID cases. The last report I saw was 500 cases on 60 million, which is not very much. And they started vaccinating people here, not very much, and I think they have to pay. And there's a sheet that they have to sign that the Tanzanian government is not responsible for the side effects of the vaccine. But I think the new president doesn't want to get killed, as many other presidents, like her predecessor Magufuli, and Ivory Coast president, the Haitian president, the Zambian president, and the Burundi president. So I think she's trying to balance out things. Here there's still no restrictions, not very much COVID going on in the hospitals, and there's no mask. You don't have to be forced to wear a mask.
Thank you very much indeed. Great. So we go on then back to Europe, to Greece. May you introduce yourself? Plus, I need to say, I received emails from happy people that the World Freedom Alliance supported 41 demonstrations in the street, information's coming together. So you did a great job on the branch of the World Freedom Alliance Greece. So, my colleague, may you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm very happy to be with you. My name is Zafiria Kakaletri, and I'm a dentist from Greece. The last 2 weeks, we have been under a huge media pressure about making mandatory the vaccination in our country. And finally, today, in the Greek parliament, they voted for that, especially for the healthcare workers. However, people since last Wednesday and yesterday, they have been out in the streets in 48 cities yesterday and 41 the previous week. And even in Sparta, where I live, which is not a big town, there were a lot of people out. And this is very, very good. And we know that this pressures the government. And we're getting prepared for this Saturday, for the Worldwide Demonstration Day for Freedom and ivermectin. So at the same time, we're prepared now lawsuits against the government and the Ministry of Health for what they're doing. And today we asked also from the court here in Sparta to check for real fact, for fake news, because in the site of Greek health ministry about the vaccination, it is mentioned that the vaccine is fully approved from FDA and EMA for its efficacy and for its safety. And so we gave all the other documents from the fact sheet from the vaccines, and we're expecting that this will help too. So we're happy that we are with you, and we will beat them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. So, thank you for correcting me. So it was not 41 cities in Greece, it was 48 cities, yeah? So we see a lot is going on. So, and then I will refer myself to the situation in Germany. So it happens that we have a natural flood in the western part of Germany. More than 100 people seems to be killed. And but the bad thing is, so a lot of good people try to help, but the police, yes, labeled them as as COVID nerds, yeah, and they wanted to keep them all in quarantine. So the police seems to be caring more about to the repression of the narrative of COVID-19 than to the help of the for the victims of the flood. This is really bad stuff. Well, in the end of September, we've got elections in Germany, so a lot of this is going on. And I would like to invite you to the 1st of August to Berlin. We will have a great rally. Last year we had on the 1st of August plus on the 29th of August more than 1 million people on the street, and we will do this again. And I can assure you I was a speaker there as well, so this were more than 1 million people. And this time we need to concentrate this in Berlin. And the first will happen in Berlin, save the date, 1st of August in Berlin. This will be really, really great and quite international. So I will close for the medical thing. Well, there is this narrative a killer virus is going around in Germany and all over the world. I am now in Sweden. Yeah, I looked around for myself, talked a lot to doctors, people here in the street. So, yeah, even without a lockdown, without wearing a mask, yeah, the people are happy and healthy. Yeah, so nothing happens. If you really experience a situation like here in Sweden, you see it's all an illusion, and this is really criminal. It's organized crime, like the mafia. It's a worldwide mafia who did this. The narrative is really not true. And you can see this if you compare Sweden to Germany, for example. And it's just media scam lies put out. So that's the situation. We will go on with the next country, and this will be Bulgaria.
Thank you. What is in Bulgaria at the moment? Actually, I'm in Düsseldorf in Germany, and I'll in the end of my exposition, I'll give you what's going on in Düsseldorf. So, Bulgarian government introduced QR codes for vaccinated, for tested, and for recovered. It's working quite bizarre. I'm as a medical doctor and as a laboratory doctor can issue for every one of you any kind of certificate, and nobody is able to check me to do anything, which means that the whole system is very bizarre. Secondly, masks are mandatory in the shops, on the covered places, but actually, no one is able to look after the regulations, because Bulgarian court said that no one could be penalized because it's put in one order of the minister instead to be put in the law or in the administrative order, which is not done. So no one is able to be, no one could be penalized in Bulgaria. The condition is nothing. We have 96 cases of something out of 15,000 tests, which is less than 6.5%, 0.65%. In the country, there are a lot of tourists, no mask anywhere, no tests required for anywhere, nothing to do, only if you are traveling with plane, which I'm going to do within 5 days later. When you are entering the country, you have a right, you will be put under quarantine if you are not presenting within 24 hours negative tests, any kind of tests to present. That means it's nothing. You can give them a flying sheet, and then that's all. What about Germany? I have to tell you that I cannot recognize this country, which was one etalon for democracy and for the free living. I cannot go to Netto or to Reve or to Edeka without carrying mask. If I'm not carrying mask, then it's supposed for me to stay hungry and I cannot buy anything. People here are chasing each other and reporting each other. The police is exactly what Heiko said. They are repressive. They are repressing walking people instead to be helpful as they were before. That's Bulgaria is free, and we're going to keep it free. We don't have many cases. We have only 80% in intensive care units and only 700 something people. Vaccination rate in Bulgaria is less than 13% of the population, and less than 7% of the population received so-called 2 needles, which I'm very great and I'm feeling very happy that I met me and Dr. Paskov and many other people, Professor Mangarov and so on and so on. We did a lot of contribution to convince our people to not be vaccinated. And
thank you very much indeed. So
that's all. That's all.
Yes. Thanks for the facts you presented, plus describing the situation, what is going on in this repression. So we will change the continents to Canada. My colleague, Dr. Malthus, please.
Hello, thank you to everybody here for being in such a wonderful group. In Canada, we're a very big country. I'm a family doctor here. We're a very big country, and we have variations in the rules in every province and even city to city. So there's some cities which are in lockdown, and there are some cities which are completely open. The summer is here, so people are taking some leisure time, and I think that the public policies are trying to follow that, knowing that they can't corral people when the sun is shining. So they've allowed people, particularly in my province of British Columbia, to take off their masks. They're no longer mandated. Nevertheless, 50% of people are still wearing them. So it just shows the degree of psychological capture that's occurred in our country. And we are pushing to get the shots. I'm not, but the government and public health are pushing to get these COVID injections down to lower age groups. We already have it down to age 12, and it's intended to go further, probably for the school season starts up again in about 1.5 months. So we're making our best efforts to counter that through notice of liability and letting people know that it is actually illegal to market a drug in that way in our country. But I would say that as the rallies get bigger, the people start to wake up more and start to protest and speak out and so on, to go against the consensus that we expect the opposition, government, public health, and a lot of institutions to also increase the pressure with coercion, particularly in the young people. So I think we're looking for a long battle ahead of us, and we should be prepared for that. We're expecting there to be shortages of food in terms of the supply lines, and people are advised, to prepare for that. So we've got a long battle ahead of us. We expect it to happen, and we're preparing for it. But I think that our side is rising towards freedom as the oppression is coming our way. So we are all very hopeful, but it is going to be a tough time ahead. So we're preparing.
Thanks for the very professional update, as always. So you're doing a great job there in Canada with Canada Health and all the your colleagues you've got there. So yes, you're under repression, but it's good to hear that the psychological psyop operation is now going on the decline. Okay, the next we are switching to the core of Europe, to Switzerland. And my colleague, Dr. Thomas Binder, has got interesting news and will share some evidence how the tricks are going on. So please, Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Heiko. I'm Thomas Binder, cardiologist from Switzerland. Well, in Switzerland, actually, they crossed two new red lines. These are the call for mandatory vaccination of health workers and of vaccination of children. And I guess now they definitely overplayed, and more and more people are waking up. There is growing resistance now. Not the largest media, and of course not the public broadcaster, but smaller media are now ready to publish our pieces as well, our pieces of information for the public about the whole corona nonsense narrative and the vaccination. I don't know. Did you want that I share this ICU monitoring?
Yes, please. You presented us before, so like a peer review, a good graph. So it presented the ICU beds in Switzerland, and I would like you all to keep an eye on, especially on the green curve versus the orange curve. Yeah. So there are only these two curves are very important.
So we can see it now.
Right side. Please go ahead.
You can see it.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. This is the real-time monitoring of intensive care occupants in Switzerland. This is done by the ETH, the Eidgenössische Technische Hochschule, the most famous university in Switzerland, the home of the corona modelers. And there we see the ICU bed occupancy, the amount of ICU beds, and there we see the time.
Yes. Can you enlarge this part of your screen? So you have a little plus.
Yeah.
There. Be great. No, it's not enlarging.
Yeah, this part, this is another window coming up. Unfortunately, it's not enlarging.
Okay, go on, thanks.
Well, there you see the total ICU beds. This is the black curve. It goes up in the winter, in the flu season, due to acute respiratory infections, and the most severe cases are hospitalized in the ICU for mechanical ventilation. Then there see the green curve. These are the non-COVID ICU patients. And you see a yellow curve. The yellow curve, these are the ICU patients. For example, if you look here in summer, between the flu seasons, the positivity rate of the RT-PCR test is about 1%, the false positivity rate in the absence of any virus. And then when coronaviruses and probably other viruses go up in the flu season, suddenly the ICU patients go up. And then, for example, here in October, you would suggest that the green curve goes on, and when the reserve is diminishing, you start to postpone operations. But you see that instantly, when the yellow curve goes up, the green curve goes down, up, down, up, down. They are absolutely perfectly symmetrical. So you can only explain this by supernatural force, usually God. That when an ICU patient, a COVID patient arrives, postpones a myocardial infarction, a car accident, and so on and so forth. Or you accept that at entrance in the hospital, everybody gets a Gorman-Drosten nonsense RT-PCR test. Rolling a dice would be cheaper. And if you are positive, you land in the yellow curve, and if you are negative, you stay in the green curve. So the total amount of the ICU patient stays exactly the same. And this graphic, this official graphic, shows very, very nicely how this whole scam is done. Non-COVID diagnoses are just mislabeled as COVID by the nonsense test. You see also that in last spring, we made an ICU bed reserve that went up to 1,500, and then in the midst of an alleged pandemic, where we diminished the ICU beds to the about 1,000 beds we always had. And this explains also why in no country the ICUs were really overcrowded. Imagine in Germany, there are about almost 3 times more ICU beds per capita than in Switzerland. And for example, in Sweden, there is only about half of our ICU beds. So you think that in Germany, for example, there is a huge reserve, and in Sweden they are really overcrowded. But this does not happen because the total amount of the patients is not increased, at least after the first season of SARS-CoV-2 in April in our mid-latitude, in our north or mid-latitude.
Yes, thank you very much. This was a great...
I have a short question, just.
We're going on with the recording.
I just want to ask...
We're going on with the recording. So,
it's really...
You will have time...
The referendum in Switzerland,
please.
What was the result?
Please.
It's really important for Switzerland.
Yes. So, the next will be Russia. Dr. Plum Plaskov will speak for Russia. He's Bulgarian, but he will speak for Russia next. And after this will be New Zealand. And then we have some time for the discussion on the presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heiko. My name is Plamen Paskov. I am DVM, and the last 20 years I work and live in Russia. That's why I'm current with very details. And what's happened past 2 months? Sorry that I will use politics more than medicine, but those 2 things are connected, as you already know. Since the meeting between Joseph Biden and Vladimir Putin on June the 16th in Geneva, on the very next day, Russia, Vladimir Putin, said that we need to vaccinate 60% from the people and up, not up to, but 60 and plus percent for the people. And it's supposed to be first very soon, very intensively, and next it's supposed to be voluntary. This verbal controversial, is not listened from the institutions and from the power in government in Russia, and they start to push people and to, how to say, to obligate people to be vaccinated, otherwise they lose their jobs, and they really lose their jobs. And short time after this meeting between Joseph Biden and Vladimir Putin said that since the September, the children's 12 years and more will be vaccinated too, and schools will accept mostly only vaccinated children from vaccinated parents. Otherwise, oh no way. And the producer of Sputnik V, Alexander Ginsburg, said to Vladimir Putin, there is a video clip in internet in the public access, that we prepare a vaccine for children's 8, 9 and less than 12 years too. This vaccine will be applied not by shot, not by injection, but intranasal vaccine, and they will not feel any pain. So they are focused to the children too, and it made a million parents like me very nervous and very angry. So Russia supposed to have elections in September, exactly like Germany in September the 19th, and it will be very interesting to see what will be the results of these elections, because you can imagine that this situation is not helping for the growing down rating of Vladimir Putin, who is less than 30% now. It was more than 80% a couple of years ago. We decided to use no more than 1 to 2 minutes. That's why, Heiko, thank you for the time of everybody. This was my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, of course we are more interested in the medical numbers of this. But we know it's a political game on the one side, but more about it's an organized crime. It's a worldwide mafia, we can assure you. So, and we have lots and lots of medical evidence all around the world. And finally, we will go to a region, Western world countries, but it seems like they are the first to be tested. So Australia and New Zealand. It's like a product rollout. And we know that the oligarchs and the criminals are very, very experienced in product rollouts on polls to test how the people react on something. So we heard about the very severe lockdown situation in Australia, but we are very keen to hear from our colleague, Dr. Chandler, what is the situation in New Zealand? Go ahead.
Thank you, Heiko. I'm a functional medicine doctor in New Zealand. As you know, we've been locked down and have had very low rates of COVID. I can't speak for the Australian situation. Our border is closed, apart from within New Zealand and some states in Australia, although I expect that will change with the recent outbreak in Australia. We are finding it quite difficult to get out to the public the vaccine reactions because of we do have unofficial numbers of vaccine reactions, but official numbers are probably a factor of 5 lower than what they really are. We also have a very biased media that is a main thrust seems to be telling everyone to get vaccinated and to trash any doctors that say anything other than that. We do support World Ivermectin Day. We are pushing really hard with contacting people like the Human Rights Commission, the schools, putting them on notice, politicians and ombudsmen about the fact that they're looking to make vaccinations mandatory, especially next year with our health minister saying that they're going to, in his words, chase us down. we feel that one of the best ways of supporting patients with real informed consent is with global alliances and connecting with doctors worldwide in terms of reaching patients. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, Heiko.
Thank you very much indeed for this brief update there. So, okay, I will summarize. This, what we performing every 2 weeks, this medical alliance, yes, I think this is really historic what we put together as an evidence. Today we had 4 or 5 continents, yeah, just except Asia. The last time we heard intensively about India, yeah, what was going on there. The doctors reported 100 to 2 million, 100 million people are going to starve because of the lockdowns over there. So it's not a game, it's really an organized crime, what we see, what we consider. Very due to the facts, because it's an illusion, like today our colleague from Switzerland, Thomas Binder, showed, yeah, with the graphs, with the evidence. And I thank all who contributed today to this. So healthcare professionals, medical doctors, you're invited to our format plus our debate and presentations what we had before. So check out World Doctors Alliance plus the World Freedoms Alliance.org, and as well Canada Health and so on, who is participating in this. My name is Heiko Schöning. I'm a medical doctor from Germany, and I would like you, yeah, to consider it's organized crime, plus save the date, August 1st and August 29th. We will perform great rallies in Berlin together. Again, more than 1 million people on the street. Thank you very much indeed. Very much indeed for this brief update there. So, okay, I will summarize. This, what we performing every 2 weeks, this medical alliance, yes, I think this is really historic what we put together as an evidence. Today we had 4 or 5 continents, yeah, just except Asia. The last time we heard intensively about India, yeah, what was going on there. The doctors reported 100 to 2 million, 100 million people are going to starve because of the lockdowns over there. So it's not a game, it's really an organized crime, what we see, what we consider. Very due to the facts, because it's an illusion, like today our colleague from Switzerland, Thomas Binder, showed, yeah, with the graphs, with the evidence. And I thank all who contributed today to this. So healthcare professionals, medical doctors, you're invited to our format plus our debate and presentations what we had before. So check out World Doctors Alliance plus the World Freedoms Alliance.org, and as well Canada Health and so on, who is participating in this. My name is Heiko Schöning. I'm a medical doctor from Germany, and I would like you, yeah, to consider it's organized crime, plus save the date, August 1st and August 29th. We will perform great rallies in Berlin together. Again, more than 1 million people on the street. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, thank you very much for the discipline. And so this was the recording, and we will put it out. So, and you can share this on Instagram or whatever you would like to go. So the next will be Mikkel Norfors. I think you had a comment on the Swiss data. We are happy to hear.
I was just asking about the results of the referendum in June. I was very curious. Sorry if I interrupted, but I was very curious about that.
I reported about this last time, so I thought it's not necessary to report it again. But we had 40% no, so no was for the referendum against the COVID law. 40% no, even though this was connected to the whole system of reimbursement. So the populace were told you have to accept the law or you do not get any money. And then just the day after the referendum, we started to collect new signatories because they changed the law. This referendum was against the law of September last year, and since then they added more and more insanities. And with every new insanity they add, we can launch a new referendum. And on Monday after this referendum, we started to collect signatories. We had 40 weeks time to collect 40,000 signatories, and we got 187,000. So this has never been seen in Swiss history. I mean, for example, if you want to compare this with Germany, you have to multiply this figure by 10. So this will be almost 2 million signatories in 4 weeks. And the new referendum will be held in November. And then there will be no connection with this system of reimbursement. What they are currently, they are starting the narrative. The whole COVID certificate is included in this law. So now they tell the people, if you do not accept it, you do not get the COVID certificate, and then you are no more able to travel around in the world. So this is currently the argumentation of the other side. We are working hard, and I think in Switzerland there is moving something.
Thank you very much indeed. I think we have some new colleagues on this. If you'd like to introduce yourself, René de Monchy, I think if you'd like to say some words.
I'm from New Zealand. I used to be a GP for a long time, and I'm a psychiatrist, actively with the New Zealand Doctors SOS meeting and together with Anne and Tracy here.
Thank you very much indeed. So there are some others who would like to speak up and turn this. So Gillian, please.
I just wanted to add regarding the UK that last week the JCVI, I think that's the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, they advised against the immunisation of children from 12 to 15, which initially was a relief, but on the other hand, they did advise that vulnerable children should be vaccinated. And so there's no definition of what vulnerable is, so that's a very threatening, weak underbelly. And also, sorry, it's quite loud in the background there. Also, they have been doing a switch and bait system in England for many months now, where you can't trust what they're saying. So we are still continuing our bid to put in, legal action against that. And we're very pleased to see that Dr. Holzhausen, I think, together with the Rheinland group, has already done the same in Europe with legal action, or at least an expert statement. But the other thing is that on the same day that we were told we had freedom, which was the 19th of July, they also said through the back door, as Dr. T said, that young people will not be able to go to nightclubs without being vaccinated. Can you believe it? They will have to show a certificate to get into nightclubs. And of course, this is huge pressure on young people who've immediately been saying, well, for goodness sake, then I suppose I just have to go for it.
Yes. John Travolta would never have done so good with a vaccine in his leg. So, Stephen from Canada, you want to address a date?
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to announce the upcoming International COVID Summit, which is going to be held in Rome, September the 12th to the 14th. This is, I think, going to be historic. I've been invited to be a little part of or contribute to the steering committee for this. But the reason I bring it up is because the time is short and you may want to put it on your calendars. It's a meeting which we hope people will come in person. We are going to have people from South America, from Canada, from the United States, from just about every country in the world that we can think of, in an attempt to get us all together, to meet each other, to show that we're not afraid of catching COVID, and to also talk about the prime reason for it is the early treatment of COVID disease. So we're going to gather together and create a consensus, which will be presented on day 2 at the Roman Senate. And then, so the first day will be a meeting of scientists, doctors, and pretty much anyone who wishes to come in a convention setting. The second day will be a presentation to the Roman Senate, which will include media and government. And the third day is going to be what we're planning now, an award ceremony, where we hope to invite different countries to come to the stage to be presented with awards and to have a representative say a few words on behalf of their country. And hopefully that will be a bit along lines of Hollywood presentation. By that I mean, with videos of what's happened in your country, things like that. It'll be very fast moving, but I think it will provide us not just an opportunity for us to all to get together and to meet in person, but also it's going to be something which will be a message to the world, telling them that we stand united, that we have a consensus of early treatment, and that we do not need to send people out to get these dangerous jabs. So hopefully everybody here, particularly those people who are in Europe, who are much easier perhaps to get to Italy, will be able to join us. I know I'm going to try to get over there from Canada, and it's kind of the other side of the world for me, but nevertheless, I think it's going to be such an important event. It may be something which is going to be key in turning this a little bit. And it takes a lot of cracks in the wall to make the wall come down. And we hope that this will be a big one. So I'd like to invite you on behalf of everybody who's organizing this to come. I know it's short notice, but it should be a spectacular event, and it will be in Rome. So see you there.
Very good. We would like to support this with the Doctors Alliance plus the World Freedom Alliance. And I have to announce another date more on short notice, shorter. So August 18th in Budapest, there will be a World Freedom Alliance event. So, and we did this event last year with the Ärzte für Aufklärung, so Doctors for the Truth Germany, together with the Hungarian doctors. And so you're invited to this as well. You will get an invitation very soon. So, Stephen, all you said is very right. We need to meet in person and we need to crack it down. All right. So, if nobody else likes to introduce themselves, then I have just the last topic for today. I think most of you heard about the study got out in June 2021 in JAMA Pediatrics with my German colleagues, Professor Wallach et Altera and Ronald Weikel and so on. I'm with them in the same medical scientific club. It's called MWGFD. You can see it in MWGFD.de. Yeah. So they put out this JAMA article. So they measured in a randomized criminal trial the carbon dioxide amount in children under the mask, with mask and without, and you're sure what the results are. And what happened is that JAMA redirected 2 weeks after this the article. So it's really a scientific scam what's going on. So as my colleague in the ACU 2020, the Extra Parliamentary Inquiry Committee on COVID-19 sent around, Professor Martin Hadic from Austria, he said, JAMA is not trustworthy anymore. So, and it will take years to get this reputation. So, if you like, you can comment in the next minutes.
Well, I would like to say that that's great that it came out in JAMA, and retracted it means that they didn't like what you had to say. It didn't fit the agenda. So I don't think many of us read JAMA anymore because we can't trust them. But nevertheless, congratulations. And I think it's very important. it's a bit like saying something to the jury. Once they've heard it, they can't forget it, no matter what the judge says about striking it from the record. So congratulations. I think it's a great shot, in the direction of the enemy. And we'll although we've already known this for some time, having it put into a publication like JAMA is a very important thing. So thanks very much. Well done.
Thomas?
Yeah, well, I think this is really important that to get this message out to the doctors that they cannot trust any longer to the New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, and so on and so forth. This is very important because most doctors are working hard, and if something is written in the New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, JAMA, British Medical Journal, these are the Bibles, then they just read the titles and they believe it. This is an important message. And remember, for example, the myth of the epidemiologically relevant asymptomatic transmission was created also by Drosten et al. In this letter to the editor in the New England Journal of Medicine of January 30th, 2020, where they reported about this Chinese patient 0 in Germany, who allegedly was an asymptomatic super spreader. And when she was interviewed later, she told, I ate tons of paracetamol and so on and so forth. And we also, I was among these 22 life scientists who did the external peer review of the Corman-Drosten non-science test, and not one single journal published our external peer review. Not one single journal, medical journal, we went top down, not one single had the guts to publish it. I think this is an important message for the doctors in the world. Do not trust even to the top journals you trusted your whole life.
I see Dr. T wants to have a word.
Hi, I was just saying about the retraction of that paper. I'd missed that it had been retracted. The paper to do with... Sorry, I've just realised my video was off. Can you see me and hear me? Can you hear me or not?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That paper, because I've just been talking to the ordinary people in the street, including just today in a shop to a young man in his 20s, and when I explained that paper to do with the carbon dioxide, it was the one thing that made it hit home to people that blanked me at the first conversation, whatever, and I just pushed through and presented that. So I think it's incredibly significant, them blocking that, because the conversation I had with this young man today, as I left the shop, I already saw he'd immediately was recalling everything to another young colleague of his, including remembering words like limbic system. He was just repeating all of it. So I think the young people that are smelling a rat and then they get given this information, it's really useful. So blocking it is so significant, not just for the doctors, but for the other people.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so our colleague, Professor Niels Harald from Denmark, would like to give a very brief, short update on the graphene oxide. Niels, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I will try to make a share screen thing here, but it seems not to working. I will show you a few things.
No, you need to get to the host. I'm not sure if we have the time now because we want to clip. But Lisa perhaps can try.
Niels, you can just share screen.
Then I have some screen to share.
Okay. Time, I would like to thank you all to participate in this. So next time we will take out the proper invitations. So get this around. The format will be what we did today with the country updates will be displayed on the worldfreedomalliance.org website. And this is a format even layman likes to see. So all you experts, clear, sharp, yeah, and on the point. Looking forward.
So we knocking off. Is it time for that gin and tonic? I guess we'll hear from you next time then, Niels. I guess.
Okay.
Was it something you can quickly share? We've got 1 minute.
It's technical.
Okay, we'll do this for the next time, and I think this topic is even worth it to make a presentation. So next time, go ahead with a proper PowerPoint presentation on this. Yes. So and I thank all who did it today. And well, we are in time. Yes. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you,
everybody. Thank you.
May the force be with you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.